Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengal fan on Twitter, repping the Bengals for the AFC Northerners, doing a post-game update here. I know we won the game. It was an ugly game. It's kind of going to be kind of a mixed bag here. So I've got some good things to say, but a lot of bad things because I don't feel really good going into Jacksonville next week. So here's our good news. We won a game. If I had told you before the game that AJ only had 27 yards receiving, and as a team we only had 58 yards rushing, you would have thought we lost the game. So the good news is that we did pull out a win with those horrendous offensive numbers. Second good piece of news is our defense was stout again. I mean, we're only reason we're 3-4 is because of our defense. That play that Carlos Dunlap made, where he tips the ball, intercepts the ball, and then fights off a tackle to get into the end zone to make sure we score. That was game changing. Definitely earned his paycheck. So thank you to the defense. Thank you to the defense for closing out the game at the end when it looked like we were going to get Vinatieri'd. I mean, I know every Bengal fan was sitting there going, okay, they're at midfield. Here we go. Vinatieri for the win. But our defense stepped up. Gino shoving the center into Brissett on that fourth down play. I knew we had to close out the game on that fourth down, and Gino Atkins came through. So our defensive guns came through. Now, here's the bad news, okay? The Bengals, once again, with this performance, confirmed that, hands down, they are one of the worst coached teams in the NFL. I mean, both of these squads are poorly coached, and that's why in the beginning, this game was just hard to watch. I mean, you just watch Pagano and Lewis, who are going to enjoy unemployment together at the end of the season. But just confirmed that they are one of the worst coached teams. This Indianapolis team lost 27-0 last week, gave up 10 sacks to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're on their second consecutive road game. Now, I know that it's only a 2-hour bus ride from Indianapolis to Cincinnati, but they're on their second consecutive road game. We let them come into our house and score 23 points and barely win a game? I mean, this is a game that we could have easily lost. We left them in the game. We manufactured points for them. It was just, and our offense did everything wrong. We got one touchdown on a long play with Mixon. You take that away, we didn't do anything in the first half. And then I'm going to give Dalton credit on one of the grittier plays where he stood in there and underthrew it, but hit Josh Malone with a lot of pressure in his face. But that's most of our points, right? Other than that, we missed a field goal, made a field goal, and then the Dunlap touchdown. So our offense really, once again, looked very lackluster, very uninspiring. Marvin Lewis, shit for brains. Marvin Lewis plays Jeremy Hill again. It's just, I'm watching Twitter. Everybody's just like, why is he in the game? Why is he getting carries? We're never going to understand this. It'll change when Marvin's gone. Our O-line, our thin O-line, just got thinner today. This is probably the worst piece of news because Trey Hopkins had an ugly injury. I'm hoping it's not as bad as it looked, but I have to assume that it is bad. So going into Jacksonville next week and starting a 3-game road trip, I might add, with Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Denver, this was the last thing we needed to see was Trey Hopkins get hurt and our thin O-line getting thinner. And then two things I want to talk about that are kind of a microcosm of this team and our coaching staff and the Marvin Lewis era the last couple years. The first one is Andy Dalton not seeing A.J. Green in single coverage against a safety. Now, I know A.J. was upset. It was an opportunity to get a score, maybe pull away. Just kind of a microcosm of how Andy's seeing the field and how Andy's playing. Just really disappointing. And then the other one was how we ended the first half. This really, really bothered me. We have an opportunity. We deferred. We have an opportunity to get the ball to start. So score, go to halftime, get the ball to start the second half, score again. You know, that's what Belichick does all the time. That's what well-coached teams do all the time. Instead, we get the ball. We call some horrific plays that really have no chance. I'm just poorly designed. And we end up giving the ball back with time to Indianapolis, who goes downfield and gets a field goal right before half. So now, instead of us being up, we're chasing 13-10. Just kind of a microcosm of how Marvin Lewis coaches in the last 2 minutes of the game. It's just terrible. it's just totally typical of the whole Marvin Lewis era the last couple years, how we went into halftime. So I don't really feel good about this team going into next week, going to play Jacksonville, who is a stout defense. I mean, like I said, they got 10 sacks. This team is on a record pace for sacks, and we lose Trey Hopkins, and our offense just isn't clicking. So I'm very troubled with how we're going into next week. On another side note, and you can see this on Twitter, go to check my Twitter feed. Jake Elliott made his 5th field goal of over 50 yards for the Eagles. So congratulations for Jake Elliott. But I know as a Bengal fan, we can't help but think, why isn't he our kicker? We drafted him, and somehow our coaching staff decided they were going to go with Bullock instead of Jake Elliott. So just another gaffe by this coaching staff. And like I said, I'm not hating on Jake Elliott doing that. It's just he should be doing that for us. So it hurts me to see that, and that's why I sent out a bunch of crying emojis with that tweet. So that's where we're at. I don't know if we're going to have a full show this week or if we're just going to do game updates. If not, I will get out my Bengal preview by Wednesday, as I typically do. Previewing, like I said, and having more to say about our trip into Jacksonville this week. I'm not complaining. I'm happy to get away with this win, but this is not... There was a lot of negatives today with this win. I think all of us really expected us to really put a beat down on these guys. And we just didn't do it. I mean, like I said, we barely escaped. So happy to be 3-4, but not all warm and fuzzy. And what pisses me off the most is right now, fucking Marvin Lewis is probably sitting there with that shit-eating grin that he has, all happy with himself, and he shouldn't be. He should be ashamed of himself that he barely is. That this is how they won. So I'll take the win, but fuck you, Marvin, for being what you've been for the last couple years. Okay. With that, I will sign off, as I always do, with fuck the Patriots, and we'll talk later in the week. Bye, everybody.